everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen, and in today's video we are going to be continuing to sort various fictional characters into Hogwarts houses. And in today's video we'll be talking about my favorite Slytherins. And no, this is not just going to be a list full of villains. That would be very stereotypical Slytherin, and we don't want that. But that being said, there are going to be some villains on the list, because, hey, it's still Slytherin. I joke Slytherins. So what traits do define a Slytherin? The main two that people think about is ambition and cunning, of course. Which, ambition applied correctly, does not have to be villainous. Slytherins are also great strategists. They're good in politics, typically. They're realists. They are not really head in the clouds types. They're very confident and level-headed. They can make good leaders. They're self-sufficient. They can handle their business, and they can hold a bit of a grudge. And the first Slytherin on my list is Bellwether from Zeros. And I will admit, I kind of thought Bellwether might turn out to be a villain the first time around that I read these, but he did not turn out to be a villain. But he's definitely got that ambition in spades. He wants to be a high-up political person as an adult, and already as a teenager he's doing everything he can to make sure that happens. And he has a lot of ambition for the Zeros. This is a group of teenagers with superpowers, and they think that they're the only 6, and he has kind of found them all, sought them all out, and brought them together, and has kind of made himself the self-appointed leader. And he definitely has great goals for them and is always working to try to get the group to do what he wants. So lots and lots of ambition in Bellwether. He's very self-confident because of his powers. As I said, he's made himself the leader of the group. He's self-sufficient. He is constantly thinking of strategies to increase his power and get to his goals. But in the end, he does have overall, I think, good goals. He's not seeking out to be a bad guy. He just wants a lot of power. And I think when he ends up meeting real bad guys, he even more realizes that that's not what he wants to be. Next, we have Margot Roth Spiegelman from Paper Towns, which Margot is a bit of a complicated Slytherin. She doesn't so much have ambition for power, she more so has ambition for happiness, I guess. She's very unhappy living in what she considers to be a fake town, and she's really just on a journey to figure out what she wants in life and what's going to make her happy and what's going to feel real. And she is willing to do anything to reach this goal, doesn't really care who she has to leave behind in order to reach this goal. She definitely holds a grudge. The whole first third of this book is her just seeking out revenge on people. She's definitely got those leadership qualities. Everyone sort of looks up to her and does what she says, and she has kind of almost accidentally found herself in this role of queen bee at her high school, and she doesn't like it. So even when she's not really trying, she ends up becoming the leader. She's self-sufficient. She goes off on her own to live in New York, and she seems to be doing fine with that. Like, she's not in a great position, but she kind of doesn't want to be, but she's surviving on her own in New York as a teenager. She's quite confident in some ways, in other ways not so much. Like, she's definitely more confident than our main character in this book, but at the same time there's also this storyline of her like trying to find herself, and she doesn't feel sure of herself. So it's kind of a matter of her just seeming confident on the outside. She knows how to seem confident on the outside even if she's not on the inside, which I think is a very Slytherin trait, to be able to put on this mask and pretend to be something you're not in order to navigate the world. Next, we have our first villain, and that is President Snow from the Hunger Games. We got to see a lot more of President Snow recently in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and he definitely has proven himself to be a complete Slytherin. He, again, lots of ambition. He comes from a formerly rich and powerful family, and he's doing everything he can to hide the fact that they are not so rich and powerful anymore. And of course, as we know, he gets that wealth and that power back over the course of his lifetime, and then some. He's very cunning, a strategist for sure, is always working all sorts of political schemes in the background, but he's a realist. He will realize when his goals aren't possible and will change course, but then will also always be keeping an eye out for if those goals become possible again, he'll go right back to charting that course. He's self-sufficient, level-headed. Again, that kind of goes with the realist side of his personality. He doesn't really let his emotions cloud his judgment. Again, if one of his schemes isn't working, he very easily will chart a different course and not hang on to something that's not working. And yeah, just ambition kind of comes before everything for him. There's a point in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes when he kind of has had to think of a whole different life for himself because the one he was chasing becomes clearly very impossible, and the new life that he's charting is based a little bit more on a relationship that he has and are about kind of building a life with this person he cares about. But the moment that his original ambition of restoring his family name and getting wealth and power becomes possible again, he dumps that relationship at the drop of a hat. Next, I have the third queen from Three Dark Crowns. I sorted Arsinoe into Gryffindor and Mirabella into Hufflepuff, and now I'm sorting Catherine into Slytherin. Catherine is the most ambitious of the three sisters. She's the one who actually wants the crown the most, and she's the one that's the most willing to kill her other sisters to get it. So again, she has that ambition. She might be lacking a little bit on the cunning and the strategy, but she does hold a grudge, that is for sure. And in the later books, you can kind of see her coming into that leadership role, and you can actually see how she would have been a really good queen if things had gone differently. She starts to mature a bit, she gets a little more level-headed, she starts to become more confident and self-sufficient. In the first book, she doesn't have a lot of confidence because she is a poisoner who is not immune to poison, which poisoners are supposed to be. And so her getting poisoned constantly does not help her confidence or her strength. But as the books go on, those definitely build. Next, we have one of my favorite Slytherins on this list, and that is Kaz from Six of Crows. Kaz might be most well known for his ability to hold a grudge. It is his life's ambition to seek revenge on someone who did him wrong as a child. And there's that word, ambition. He will go to the ends of the earth to seek this revenge. And along the way, he is also kind of gaining some power within his little city. He has his crows, he has his bar that he owns, and he's kind of becoming a high up in the criminal underground. He's very much the leader of the crows, so he definitely has those leadership qualities. He has been self-sufficient since early childhood. He's a great strategist, always is one step ahead of everyone, very cunning. He's, again, level-headed, realist. He knows when to cut his losses. And also, again, I feel like he portrays a lot of confidence. He knows to put on the airs of being very confident, even if he's not always completely confident on the inside. Next up, we have Colin Singleton from An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. And there's definitely an argument for Ravenclaw here for Colin. He's definitely got the smarts, intelligence of a Ravenclaw, but I think he's missing that key component of creativity. And Slytherins are also kind of known for their intelligence. They're very cunning, so I kind of put down Colin's intelligence to that. And rather than the creativity, Colin has that ambition. He wants to be a genius, he wants to be world-renowned for his genius. He doesn't seem to care so much about the difference he could make in the world with his intelligence. He more so seems to care about the notoriety that he could get out of it. And so yeah, that's kind of what pushed him into Slytherin for me, the lack of creativity and all that ambition. He's overconfident. He kind of has a blind spot for his weaknesses. He doesn't really recognize them, just focuses on his strengths. But while he does have that intelligence, I wouldn't really describe it as cunning or as being much of a strategist. I don't think those would be his strong suits with his intelligence. He doesn't really have the leadership qualities of a Slytherin, so he's maybe a little bit of a Slither claw, let's say. Next, I have my very favorite Slytherin on this list, someone who people might not pick out as a Slytherin right off the bat, because she's not only not a villain, but quite on the hero side of things, and that is Nazueda from the Inheritance Cycle. And this, I think, is an example of Slytherins at their best. I love Nazueda. She is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction, and she of course has that ambition. She wants to be the leader of the Varden, but not in a I want to have all the power kind of way, in a I think I am best suited for this job and will make the best lives for my people. She cares deeply about the entire Varden, her entire community. She is one of the best strategists in the series. She comes up with the whole plan of selling lace cheaply by using magic, which really pisses off the king that she is allied with, and grants the Varden a lot higher place in the world and a lot more room to negotiate because they have a way to support themselves. She's very confident in her abilities, obviously, but although not in a show-off way, she just very much knows what she can do, and she does it, and doesn't let anyone having doubts in her stop her. She's a very good leader, probably the best leader of all the leaders that are in this series. Obviously, she's leading an entire army on herself, so she's also very self-sufficient. If she can take care of an army, she can take care of herself. She's extremely level-headed. She doesn't get upset with other leaders super easily. She doesn't get in like pissing contests with other leaders. She's the one who's always just like, can we just get down to business and get done what we need to get done? And on that same kind of note, unlike some Slytherins, she's not much of a grudge holder. Nazueda is just the real, all the best Slytherin traits at their best. Next, I have April May from An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. And April May is one of those ones that's always trying not to slide into the bad sides of her Slytherin personality. Like, she kind of catches herself being like maybe too ambitious, thinking too much constantly about the strategy of making herself famous, and she'll try to kind of reel it in, but it often will still come seeping out, that sudden desire that she has for fame and power and all of that. She kind of becomes a little bit addicted to that stuff, and she'll, you know, catch herself just constantly thinking about what she can post and what would be the best way to get the most out of any situation, which is a very Slytherin trait. And she sort of ends up becoming kind of a leader among her little group, even though she's not super comfortable with that. And so yeah, I feel like she's kind of an accidental Slytherin, if you will. She sort of slides into the Slytherin traits, even if she doesn't always like it. Next, I have Jill Charon from With Malice by Eileen Cook. And Jill's kind of a sneaky Slytherin. You don't know throughout the book quite what her deal is, and she does turn into a bit of a villain, which kind of ends up confirming her Slytherin-ness. Not that all villains are Slytherins, or all Slytherins are villains. But yeah, just at the end of the book, it turns out that again, she's willing to do anything for that fame, and she's willing to turn any situation in her favor. and she can also definitely hold a grudge. And finally, another kind of favorite Slytherin here is Nikolai from the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which of course he doesn't show up until the second book. But yeah, again, he's another kind of good leader Slytherin. He wants to be in charge of Ravka, not necessarily for the power. I mean, I think a little bit of it is ambition for power, but mostly he just genuinely believes that he is the best leader for Ravka and that he can do the best for its people. And again, he's one of those Slytherins that constantly has kind of a fake identity on to some extent. He will be anything for anyone if it helps him get ahead. He's very cunning, again, total strategist, kind of can take advantage of any situation. He is so confident. Maybe the most confident one here, although again, sometimes it's just him putting on that mask. He's of course a leader. He kind of takes on this role of leading Ravka even when he's not yet the leader of Ravka. He's got that cunning. He likes to invent new things. He kind of has that Slytherin side of the intelligence with the strategy, and then also kind of the Ravenclaw side of the intelligence with his inventions. Yeah, he's just kind of one of those fun, suave Slytherins. So yes, these books contain some of my favorite Slytherins. Once again, let me know down below some of your favorite Slytherins, if you disagree with any of my sorting for Slytherin. And on to the quote for today's video. And for this one, I have one from One Tree Hill, and it is said by Brooke Davis, who herself might be a bit of a Slytherin. But it goes, "Someone once said, it's the good girls who keep diaries. The bad girls never have time. Me? I just want to live a life I'm going to remember, even if I don't write it down." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.